Picture this. You're driving home from college at 2 a.m., taking a shortcut through back roads you've never been on before. Your phone is dead, your gas tank is running low, and you just passed the same mile marker for the third time. That's exactly what happened to me last October, and I'm still not sure I believe it myself. I was a junior at State, driving back to my hometown after a particularly brutal midterm week. I'd stayed late at the library and didn't hit the road until midnight, already a mistake. The interstate was packed with construction, so I decided to take what my GPS had shown me earlier as a faster route through the rural back roads. Big mistake. About an hour into the drive, my phone died. No big deal, I thought. I'd driven these general areas before, and how hard could it be to find my way back to a major highway? The road I was on, Route 47, was one of those narrow two-lane country roads that snakes through endless farmland and patches of dense forest. No streetlights, no houses, just my headlights cutting through the darkness and the occasional reflective eyes of deer staring back at me from the tree line. That's when I first noticed mile marker 127. It was just like any other mile marker, a small green sign with white numbers reflecting in my headlights. I didn't think anything of it at first, but about 10 minutes later, I saw it again. Mile marker 127. I slowed down and really looked at it this time. Same dent in the corner, same rust stain running down from the top bolt. Definitely the same sign. But that was impossible. I'd been driving straight the whole time. No turns, no loops, just following the road forward. I kept driving, telling myself I was just tired and confused. Maybe there were two markers with the same number. Maybe I'd somehow missed a turn and gotten turned around without realizing it. 10 minutes later, I passed mile marker 127 again. By the fourth time I passed that sign, panic was setting in. I pulled over and turned off the engine, sitting in complete darkness, trying to make sense of what was happening. The silence was absolute. No wind, no insects, no distant highway sounds, just the ticking of my cooling engine and the sound of my own rapid breathing. I got out of the car and looked around. Behind me, the road stretched into blackness. Ahead of me, more blackness. To either side, dense trees pressed close to the asphalt, like they were trying to swallow the road entirely. That's when I noticed something that made my blood freeze. There were no tire tracks on the road except mine. This was a public road, supposedly connecting two counties. There should have been other cars, other tire marks, evidence of regular traffic. But the asphalt was pristine except for the single set of tracks from my own car. And those tracks, they formed a perfect loop. I was looking at the physical evidence that I'd been driving in a circle, but the road itself appeared completely straight. I got back in the car and tried driving in reverse, thinking maybe I could break whatever was happening by going backward. After about 5 minutes, I passed mile marker 127 again. Going backward. That's when I decided to get out and explore on foot. I grabbed my keychain flashlight, not much, but better than nothing, and started walking along the road. I'd walked for maybe 15 minutes when I found something that shouldn't have been there. Just off the right side of the road, barely visible through the trees, was an old car. A sedan from maybe the 80s, covered in rust and overgrown with vines. The driver's side door was hanging open. I approached slowly, my tiny flashlight beam dancing across the wreckage. The interior was rotted out, full of leaves and decay. But on the dashboard, clearly visible, was a map. An old paper road map, the kind people used before GPS. I reached in and grabbed it, my hands shaking. The map showed Route 47 all right, but according to this map, Route 47 was a loop. A perfect circle exactly 4.2 miles around, with mile marker 127 marking the starting point. At the bottom of the map, someone had written in faded blue ink, "Built 1952, closed 1953, 7 missing."
The map when I heard the engine. Someone else was driving on the road. I could see headlights cutting through the trees, getting closer. Relief flooded through me. I wasn't alone anymore. Someone else was here. Someone who might be able to help. I ran back toward the road, waving my arms and shouting. The car slowed as it approached, and I could make out the driver through the windshield. It was a woman, probably in her 50s, with short gray hair and wide, terrified eyes. She rolled down her window. "Thank God," she said, her voice shaking. "How long have you been here?" "A couple hours," I said. "I keep passing the same mile marker. I can't get out." Her face went white. "Mile marker 127? You too?" She nodded. "I've been driving this road for 6 hours. My phone died, my gas is almost gone, and I keep seeing that same sign." I showed her the map I'd found. When she saw it, she started crying. "That car," she whispered. "I found it too. There are others." "Others?" 3 more cars, hidden in the trees at different points around the loop. All old, all empty. She wiped her eyes. "How many people do you think have gotten stuck here?" We decided to work together. She, her name was Linda, had been keeping track of time, and she'd noticed something I hadn't. The loop wasn't random. It took exactly 21 minutes to complete at normal driving speed. But here's the thing that made us both sick with fear. She'd been counting loops, and she'd completed 17 of them. That meant she'd been driving for almost 6 hours, but her gas gauge had barely moved. "It's like the car isn't really running," she said. "Like we're not really driving." We tested it. We both turned off our engines and got out. The silence that followed was so complete, it felt like the world had died. No wind, no animal sounds, no distant traffic. And then we noticed something else. Our breath wasn't fogging in the cold air, even though it was October and felt freezing. Linda held up her hand and we both stared at it. No pulse visible in her wrist. I checked my own. Nothing. "What the hell is happening to us?" she whispered. I don't know how to explain what happened next. One moment we were standing there in the impossible silence, and the next moment Linda was screaming. She was pointing at something behind me. I turned around and that's when I saw them. People were walking out of the forest. Dozens of them. Men, women, even some children. They moved slowly, deliberately, all heading toward the road. Their clothes were from different eras. I saw a woman in a 1950s dress, a man in a 1970s suit, a teenager in what looked like early 2000s fashion. They all had one thing in common. Their eyes were completely black, and they were all staring directly at us. "The missing," Linda whispered. "The 7 missing from the map." But there were way more than 7. What happened next is hard to remember clearly. Linda and I ran for our cars, but the figures from the forest were moving faster now, closing in from all sides. I remember Linda screaming something about the mile marker, something about how it was the key. I gunned my engine and drove straight at mile marker 127, not caring if I crashed. At the last second, I swerved and clipped the sign with my passenger side mirror. The sign went down with a metallic crash, and suddenly, everything changed. Sound rushed back into the world like someone had turned the volume back up. My phone blazed to life with dozens of missed calls and messages. My gas gauge dropped to nearly empty. And the road ahead of me was no longer Route 47. I was on Interstate 81, exactly where I should have been if I'd driven straight through. According to my phone, only 20 minutes had passed since I'd left campus. But my passenger side mirror was gone, and there was green paint scrapped along the side of my car. I never saw Linda again.
I never saw Linda again. I tried to find news reports about Route 47, about missing people, about anything that might explain what happened. Nothing. But a few weeks later, I was talking to my roommate about weird road experiences, and he told me something that made my blood run cold. His uncle was a state highway worker, and he'd mentioned the road that used to exist in that area, a loop road built in the early 1950s as some kind of experimental traffic pattern. It was supposed to ease congestion, but cars kept disappearing on it. 7 cars in the first year. Families, solo drivers, all just vanished without a trace. So they closed the road and removed it from all the maps. Officially, it never existed. But according to his uncle, the road is still there, still claiming people who take the wrong turn at the wrong time. I've driven through that area twice since then, always sticking to major highways. But sometimes late at night when I'm driving alone, I catch myself looking for green mile marker signs. And I can't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, Linda is still driving in circles, passing mile marker 127 every 21 minutes, waiting for someone else to join her. The really terrifying part? Last week, I was scrolling through local news and saw a missing person report. A college student from state, last seen driving home late at night. His car was found on Interstate 81, but he was nowhere to be found. They found green paint scraped along the passenger side. Some roads exist in the spaces between reality and nightmare, and once you find them, they never really let you go. Drive safe out there, and if you ever see mile marker 127, keep driving.